So, hello, welcome back to another Full House free workshop. For this workshop, we're going to be doing some bits and bobs around generating material. So we're just going to go over a few introductory bits. So to start off with, I'm Leah. I'm one of the head editors at Full House.
And I'm Kirsten, also a head editor at Full House.
So that's us. So just a bit about this session. So the session was going to run for about 45 minutes, but of course you can pause it, rewind it, do whatever you want to it and go at your own pace. It's really designed for you to take this as you want to. So if there's anything you want to spend a bit more time and or go back on, absolutely feel free to. This is for you and make it how you want it and make it how it's going to be useful for yourself. So yeah, these are just guides. Choose your time however you want to spend it. So let's do some warm-ups. So we're just going to take a few minutes to warm up, get our brains in the zone, and get ready to do some writing and thinking. So to begin with, I just want you to close your eyes for 30 seconds and just breathe. Just focus on some breath. So just 30 seconds, go. Okay, so open your eyes. Hopefully you're feeling a bit relaxed and ready to go, clear head from your day. And we're just gonna do some stretching before we do some writing. I've been typing all day, so my fingers are really tight. I need to definitely loosen them out. So whatever it is, move your body and get nice and relaxed. Let all that tension just run away. Okay, so let's get writing. So I'm going to give you a choice. This is only 2 minutes, but you can either write down one thing from that you remember from today, each of the senses, so that smell, touch, taste, hear, or feel. Or you could finish this sentence and don't stop writing until the 2 minutes is up. So a bit of an automatic writing thing. So the sentence would be, when I wake up today. So you're continuing that sentence. So 2 minutes, either write down one thing you remember from the day using your sentences or finish the sentence, when I wake up today. 2 minutes, go. Okay, time is up. 2 minutes is done. Hopefully, you're feeling nice and ready to go. Hopefully, your brain is turning over. You're ready to carry on writing. So let's go straight into our first exercise.
Okay, so the exercises we're going to do today are all based around a brilliant story called Holidays by Jamaica Kincaid. And if you don't know any of Jamaica Kincaid's work, I would highly recommend seeking it out. There's a story called Girl that was in the New Yorker. I think is really popular. It's actually flash fiction. It's very short. I think everybody kind of knows about that one. But the collection that's from, which is called At the Bottom of the River, is a brilliant collection. So I really recommend you getting it if you have never read it before. But like I said, all of the exercises now we're going to do are based around this story called Holidays. And the reason why I've chosen this one as the exercise that we're going to focus on today is because it's actually a bit of a mishmash of lots of different styles, doing lots of different things in it that I thought would be a really good way to kind of kick off some of our own ideas. And also it's November and it's a bit grey and sad outside, and I'm kind of now reminiscing about the holidays that have just been passed in the summer, and also now already looking forward to next summer's holidays. So I thought it'd be a good one to do at this time of year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you chunks of text. I'm actually going to read them out. And then we're going to do some exercises based on these chunks of text. They're actually not in order. So this isn't the story altogether. This is just little bits of the story that I thought were really good springboards for some exercises. So this is one whole chunk. This is from one section in the story. The deer flies, stinging and nesting in wet matted hair, broken bottles at the bottom of the swimming hole, mosquitoes, a family of skunks eating the family garbage, a family of skunks spraying the family dog, washing the family dog with cans of tomato juice to remove the smell of skunks, a not too fast moving woodchuck crossing the road, running over the not too fast moving woodchuck, the camera forgotten, exposed in the hot sun, the prism in the camera broken because the camera has been forgotten, exposed in the hot sun, spraining a finger while trying to catch a cricket ball, spraining a finger while trying to catch a softball, stepping on dry brambles while walking on the newly cut hayfields, the hem of a skirt caught in a barbed wire fence, the great sunstroke, the great pain, the not at all great day spent in bed. So let's just have a quick look at some of the things that are going on here. So, you know, it's basically just a list, right? But you get this sense of it being, you know, this list of things that have happened in this holiday. And, you know, think about, there's kind of like an escalation. There's lots of repetition in there. But each little thing that's repeated is kind of like escalating the story a bit. And so even though it's just a list of, you know, things or events, it's all kind of building up to this one all-encompassing description of, it doesn't necessarily just seem like a holiday. It could have been, you know, all childhood holidays, or, you know, you just get this sense that all of these things are kind of adding up together, but they kind of form their own narrative arc, which I think is really beautiful. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about a holiday that we've had recently, or if you haven't had a holiday recently, think about your ideal holiday. And what I want you to do, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to just write a list of anything to do with that holiday. It doesn't have to be in order. You don't have to think about the narrative arc. Just write a list. 5 minutes, anything to do with that holiday. Go. Okay, so hopefully you have a good list now of anything to do with that holiday that you are thinking about. So the next section that we're going to look at is actually the start of this story called Holidays. And I'm going to read it out again and then we'll have a bit of a chat about it. So I sit on the porch facing the mountains. I sit on a wicker couch looking out the window at a field of daylilies. I walk into a room where someone, an artist maybe, has stored some empty canvases. I drink a glass of water. I put the empty glass, from which I have just drunk the water, on a table. I notice two flies, one sitting on top of the other, flying around the room. I scratch my scalp. I scratch my thighs. I lift my arms up and stretch them above my head. I sigh. I spin on my heels once. I walk around the dining room 3 times. I see a book lying on the dining room table, and I pick it up. The book is called An Illustrated Encyclopedia of Butterflies and Moths. I leaf through the book, looking only at the pictures, which are bright and beautiful. From my looking through the book, the word thorax sticks in my mind. Thorax, I say. Thorax, thorax. I don't know how many times. I bend over and touch my toes. I stay in that position until I count to 100. As I count, I pretend to be counting off balls on a ball frame. As I count the balls, I pretend that they are colours, red, green, blue, and yellow. I walk over to the fireplace. So, things to know about this section. Again, it kind of has this like rhythm of just, listing things. But unlike, the previous section where you kind of had some images or, some concrete images of I can't remember, the skunk or something exciting happening. This is kind of a little bit more mundane, the listing of the things that are happening. The description is actually really quite plain, but there's still lots of repetition in there, and it sort of feels like the narrator is kind of just describing everything that's happening to them, but if you think about it, that's not possibly, you can't possibly do that. The narrator's not saying, I breathed in, I breathed out, or, there'd be lots of other minute things going on around, in between this series of events. So the narrator has chosen these specific things to talk about. So even though it kind of feels like they're talking about everything that's happening to them, it's actually still quite a tight, concise version of things of what's going on. So the exercise that we're going to do now is I'm going to give you another 5 minutes. And what I want you to do is I want you to think of that ideal holiday that you just wrote the list for. And I want you to write a list of actions you might do in a day. Okay. And just think about the actions. I don't want you to think, too much about throwing in some sensory descriptions or some images or anything like that. Just think about the actions that you would do in the holiday. Okay. So 5 minutes, go. Okay, so now what we're going to do with our description is we're going to go back and we're going to add in some of those sensory details. And so this is the next section from that story, Holidays. And so you can kind of see as we're moving through the story now, after, you know, the, kind of the listing of just like the very plain actions, there's a slight change in register. So let's just see how it works. Standing in front of the fireplace, I try to write my name in the dead ashes with my big toe. I cannot write my name in the dead ashes with my big toe. My big toe, now dirty, I try to clean by rubbing it vigorously on a clean royal blue rug. The royal blue rug now has a dark spot, and my big toe has a strong burning sensation. Oh, sensation. I am filled with sensation. I feel. Oh, how I feel. I feel, I feel, I feel. I have no words right now for how I feel. I take a walk down the road in my bare feet. I feel the stones on the road hard and sharp against my soft, almost pink soles. Also, I feel the hot sun beating down on my bare neck. It is midday. Did I say that? Must I say that? Oh me, oh my. The road on which I walk barefoot leads to the store, the village store. Should I go to the village store or should I not go to the village store? I can if I want. If I go to the village store, I can buy a peach. The peach will be warm from sitting in a box in the sun. The peach will not taste sweet and the peach will not taste sour. I will know that I'm eating a peach only by looking at it. I will not go to the store. I will sit on the porch facing the mountains. I sit on the porch facing the mountains. The porch is airy and spacious. I'm the only person sitting on the porch. I look at myself. I can see myself. So although we've got, you know, we kind of start off in that same rhythm of kind of listing things that we're doing, you know, there's a slight change where we've got some imagery happening here. So the ashes aren't just ashes, right? They're dead ashes. And the rug isn't just a rug, it's a royal blue rug. You know, and then, so you've got, you know, we've gone from that really listing basic actions to now kind of bringing in some of those more descriptive elements. And then kind of the voice of the narrator starts coming through as they kind of feel the strong burning sensation. And then you get the I feel, oh, how I feel, I feel, I feel. So you've got that change in register, and this kind of all happens very, very seamlessly and elegantly, which I think is really, really beautiful. And then, you know, you've kind of got the narrator talking to themselves as well. And you're going to get that sense of, you know, when you're on holidays and you feel like you've got the whole week to yourself, but then also you feel a bit of a loss, right? Because you're kind of out of your normal time zone or out of your routine or whatever it is. So I think, you know, Jamaica Kincaid's done a great job here of just by listing some actions and then kind of getting into that inner monologue, that we suddenly start getting that sense of, you know, kind of enjoyment of holidays, but at the same time, kind of helplessness in holidays at the same time, which I think is, yeah, and it just happens really seamlessly, which I think is great. So the other thing to note, again, as I said previously with the list, you know, every sentence kind of escalates, you know, each time. So even though there's lots of repetition in there, you know, when you're writing, think really carefully about how each new sentence kind of escalates the tension from the previous sentence. So what we're going to do now is we're going to either go back to that list of actions that you just wrote, or kind of continue the list of actions that you just wrote and add some of that sensory description and internal thoughts. Okay, so it's 5 minutes, go. Okay, so now we're going to move on from listing actions and sensory to thinking about dialogue. So this is another section from the same story. But things are so funny here. But where? But how? We are going to the Mayfair, but it's July. They are dancing a May dance around a maypole, but it's July. They are crowning a May Queen, but it's July. At Christmas, just before our big dinner, we take a long swim in the seawater. After that, we do not bathe, and in the heat, the salt dries on our bodies in little rings. Aren't things funny here? Yes, things are funny here. So this is a whole section. I think this section is really beautiful because it has this, this arc, you get actually this change of, there's obviously two people speaking and one saying, well, no, things aren't funny here. And by the end of it, they're saying, aren't things funny here? And there's actually really not much going on, right? But again, you've got that kind of rhythm of repetition and very similar to the other sections, but now we're in dialogue. We don't really know where it is, but one of the speakers manages to convey, this sense of feeling out of place, right? Again, as you do on holidays. And even, swimming at Christmas, it kind of implies that maybe you're somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere or somewhere near the equator. So, there's movement in here. There's, again, you get that sense of, feeling a little bit out of place during the holidays. And there's actually some narrative arc or character arcs happening in here as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to think about, on your holiday, in this ideal holiday that you've thought of, I want you to write some dialogue between you and someone else on your holiday. Okay, 5 minutes, just dialogue. You can't have any tags, anything else, just dialogue. Go. Okay, so the final thing we're going to do on our holiday is we're going to write a letter to ourselves. Now, this is, again, another passage from the same story, Holidays, but from the start of the story. It's actually a continuation of one of those other bits we read earlier. Should I read a book? Should I make myself something to drink? But what? And hot or cold? Should I write a letter? I should write a letter. I will write a letter. Dear so-and-so, I am... And then I got the brilliant idea. I was very amusing. I had enough, I said. I saw what I came to see, I thought. I am laughing all the way to the poorhouse. I grinned. I just don't know anymore. I remain, etc. I like my letter. Perhaps I shall keep my letter to myself. I fold up the letter I've just written and put it between the pages of a book I'm trying to read. The book is lying in my lap. Okay, so 5 minutes. I want you to write a letter on your holiday. It can be to somebody, but hopefully it's a letter that you'll want to keep yourself at the end. Okay, 5 minutes, go. Okay, so one of the things I really like about this story is the fact that there's, you know, all these snippets that just kind of give you this sense of being on holidays, and they kind of all work together, and each one, you know, has its own little arc within itself, and then they all kind of build to this like one picture of what being on holidays is like. So I'd be really interested to know, you know, where your pieces are going to take you next, and just to say, don't be afraid to juxtapose. Okay, so you know, every line, as I was saying before, or paragraph or section should be kind of like an escalation of the story or the tension in the story. But don't be afraid to kind of juxtapose different styles or different forms, or different images. And you know, yeah, just kind of run with it. See if you want to chuck it all together, break it all apart, write several different pieces with it. Just see where it takes you next. Okay.
Okay, so now let's just warm down after all that really good work there, doing lots of interesting thinking and writing. We're just going to try and do some last minute bits to clear our brains and end the workshop. So I want you to either think about, if you're wanting to relax or calm or just chill, what would be your favorite thing to smell, touch, taste, hear, and feel? Or finish this sentence and don't stop writing until I say so. It was exactly as I had thought. So either of those two options, 2 minutes, just finish enough and go. Okay, so that's all the writing we're going to be doing today, and we're just going to be finishing the workshop by just closing our eyes and just breathing in and out and just letting everything calm down and relax, and clearing our mind. Okay, so opening our eyes and we're done. Thank you so much for hopping along and enjoying this workshop. We had a great time, and you can access all of our other workshops on our website, and get in touch with us if you have any questions or comments or concerns or any ideas of anything you'd like to see next. We also have some courses live on our site, so feel free to have a browse, and again, get in touch with any questions or anything. But thank you so much.
Bye all.